Hi, everybody. My name's Jack Zagunis with 4Closure.info. That's the number 4, the word closure.info. Today on the podcast, we're going to talk about what's been happening with the last year with foreclosures and what the future looks like. So tune in, and if you have any questions, just ring back out. Thanks.
This is the Note Closer Show, where you get the latest developments in distressed note investing and learn the secrets of how you can control millions of dollars worth of property for pennies on the dollar. Get educated and entertained by someone who has closed thousands of deals and lives to support you in achieving the same. Now, here's your host, CEO of We Close Notes, Scott Carson.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Note Closer Show. As always, Scott Carson, excited to be here with you today. And I'm excited to have our special guest today. And I know that I get so many people that reach out to me on a regular basis. Hey, we're looking for distressed deals. We're looking for foreclosures. We're looking for note deals. And Texas, obviously, is a big state. And it's also a very popular state to invest with for a couple of reasons. Not only have we had really great values and stayed pretty stable for the most part through the last recession, but we are very friendly here if you're a lender, and we also have the fastest foreclosure time frame in the country. And so I'm honored to have Jack Zagunis join us today from Foreclosure.info. That's Foreclosure.info, or Foreclosure Listing Service for most of you guys that may have been around for a little while. And just honored to have him on here today to talk kind of about what he's seeing, the resources they have for investors out there. So Jack, what's up, bud? Good to have you on the Note Closer Show today.
I am so excited, Scott. Thanks for having me. Woo!
Good stuff, man. So for those that, I got started using FLS years ago. I think we'll go back over 10 years ago with George Roddy, and when he was starting off with that stuff. And so for those that don't know what it is, why don't you take a second, tell us about yourself, and then also talk a little about what that service is.
So the Foreclosure Listing Service, they've been in business since 1963, started up in Dallas doing the commercial listings. And that was George Roddy Sr., who sadly passed away 4 years ago. The company has really upgraded a lot of its digital platforms. So now if you go on it, you're going to be able to see a street view of the property. You're going to be able to see bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that. So it's going to take the public data that anybody can get at the county courthouse. It's usually just 1 to 3 pages of the foreclosure notice, and it's going to take the legal description and just going to pull the data from there and make it easy to read, so an investor can quickly move through and see, oh, I want this property or I don't want this property. It's going to cost you anywhere from $40 to $60 a month to be a member for each county. And so for some people, they're like, I want to pull it myself. That's great, it's totally fine. You can go to the county records, but if that's maybe worth your time for us to do that for you, then we'll be happy to do that for you.
Well, and that's the big thing. There's a lot of information on that list. I mean, if you want to pull a 3-page notice for every foreclosure or notice of foreclosure filing it gets on. I mean, that's the thing is in here, especially here in Texas, it's all about speed, right? Getting the notices out, or if you're doing direct mail or reaching out to the borrowers. Because when do these lists start coming out? It's not like 2 months beforehand. When you guys seeing this information?
Yeah, I mean, if you're watching this from other parts of the country, I remember in Colorado, there was a 90-day notice back when I used to do real estate there. I think California, with all the delays that they have, maybe it's up to a year, I've heard. Here in Texas, you get a minimum of 21 days notice. So that was if you're watching this today, it was yesterday. 2 days ago was the last day that someone can give someone a notice of foreclosure for the next auction. So the 20th day, we have everything completed, ready for you to start driving, door knocking, calling, or at least preparing your title and everything like that, ready for auction. So.
Yeah, it's a pretty speed thing. And if you're going to go down to the county records and try to do it all yourself, you're undervaluing your time. Like you said, it's 45 to 75, depending on the county. Yeah. And how many counties you guys doing it in Texas?
About 230. There's 254, so we don't have quite all of them yet.
Holy cow. So are you guys sending somebody down there? You have a resource that's pulling information? How's that kind of working, man? That's awesome.
Yes, we do. We send people to the county courthouses to verify the records. Most of the records are online, but sometimes they don't get scanned quite right or got put in the wrong area. And so we do check the county records. I check McLennan County, which is where I live, in Waco, Texas. And, we kind of send somebody out to especially the more difficult counties where they just can't get it together to get them all online for everybody.
Well, that's probably more the rural remote counties that maybe aren't up to date.
Probably.
with getting things done. The lists have been such a resource that I've used on the note side of things. I know a lot of people are using that, like you said, for door knocking, driving for dollars, sending out letters and postcards, stuff like that. But I like using the list to find smaller banks or institutions that are getting ready to foreclose on a property and using that asset as a hot lead into either the attorney foreclosing or to the bank directly to try to buy that debt or get on that list of potential other deals that they may have in other counties or other states out there as well. And it's been a valuable thing. I mean, you get a lot of let's talk a little about some of that great info that's on there. You said, obviously, besides the property information, what else is on there?
Yeah. And the people who have called me up to ask about what to do with the list, we do have a lot of different things people do with our list, but I haven't heard anybody talking to banks directly either before or after the sale to try to work with the notes. So that could be something that is not being utilized enough. So if that's your business, you don't have a lot of competition as far as what I've heard on the phones in 2 years of working for this company. So.
I've done it for a long time. I mean, I would take the big list, and I remember back when there would be like 1,000 plus foreclosures in like Bexar County or Dallas County or more than that. And then I would filter the list down to smaller institutional banks, getting rid of like the Deutsche Banks, the Bank of Americas, the Chases, the Cities, because they're just too big. And finding like the Jefferson Banks or the
Bank of Buckholz. That always happens.
Yes, exactly. Something like that. Not too small, not individual one branch, but the mid-sized banks that are foreclosing. Okay. And the fact that you've got the borrower's information, you have the unpaid balance roughly when the loan was originated, rough, appraisal value of the property, and the attorney or the trustee handling the foreclosure. Yep. And I would always look for a trustee that wasn't the normal names, because a lot of them are doing the same thing for different banks out there, right, Jack?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you see a trustee that isn't always on the list, and the list, there's usually about 3 or 4 trustees in every county that everybody knows. But then there's some that are not the norm. So those are the ones you go after. That's good.
Have you had anybody talking to you about how they've used a list to find private money as well?
No, not yet.
So one of the great things is I will look to see who the bank.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, you see who the lender is, and if it's not
exactly, if it's a self-directed IRA investor or a private investor in LLC, it can often be a really great.
I said, God, let me learn something on this, even though I'm the guest. I'm gonna write that down.
But it all depends on who's foreclosing.
Like I can tell this. You can even bring that up. Be like, so not everybody's paying you, huh? I'll pay you if you let me borrow some money for the next auction.
Well, exactly. Or hey, I see you got this note. What do you want to do with it? Like, if you don't want to foreclose and take the property back, we're it often can lead to an easy REO, buy for the most part, because a lot of people aren't familiar with how to bid at the auction or how to set a bid at the auction to get their assets sold. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's a great point. I love that. So yeah, you see somebody who's like, John Doe, and you could probably find them, especially in a place like Waco.
Now, on the different counties out there, I know that you also, if an asset's been on the list more than 1 month, you also, I think, have a column that says previous listing, yes or no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think, are you starting to see, and I don't know if you know this or not from tracking there in Waco where you're at or other places, are you starting to see that a lot of those are starting to show back up on a regular basis? I know it's kind of hard to tell with COVID the last 12 months, but.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what's happened for foreclosures, this is my understanding of it. So back in March of last year, obviously there was the pandemic, and the April list was already set. I mean, it happened March 12th or 14th. Everything shut down. The list was ready the week before that. So April was a huge list. It was the biggest list we've had in months and months and months. I think that things were just starting to accelerate anyway in the foreclosure world. And then the pandemic happened, and they said nobody could go outside. Well, they determined that. Real estate was an essential service. And so, can you do foreclosure auctions? Well, you can't meet with 8 or more people, but it needs to have 8 or more people to be a sale. So it's just kind of this confusing place. I went to the local courthouse. We saw the first sale in April. There was 4 sales that April auction of 2020. There was 3 in Collin County. There was not very many anywhere. So all that being said is what we kind of found out is that the order was in place so that not everybody was getting foreclosed and getting out in the streets and spreading COVID around other people. And so but they had to limit it to government-backed loans where the person is living in the home, which is like 70% of all loans. So that's almost all of them. So the foreclosures have continued every month except for 3 or 4 counties in the state. And they've continued every month just in very small numbers. And so yeah, that's kind of the background of what's been going on right now with foreclosures and kind of where they're at. So
now, prior to COVID, were you starting to see a general incline across the bigger counties? Because I know everybody's like, oh, we're going to have this apocalypse, this meltdown of everything once everything happens. And most people don't realize that from our tracking and what we've learned is that like 1 out of 10 Americans was already 30 days late in their mortgage before COVID.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's still people that were, losing their homes or foreclosing that weren't paying. So you talk a little about kind of what you were expecting to see, let's just say in the next 90 days.
Yeah. So here are the people now, and they keep putting them back up sometimes because, it seems like the moratorium is going to end and then it gets extended. It keeps getting extended. So there's the people that are going to get foreclosed on soon are all the people that were going to get foreclosed on before the pandemic happened. They just kind of got an extra year. They're the people who, maybe their property taxes have increased and their mortgage payments have increased. And so they're going to probably get foreclosed on. There's the people who have lost their jobs since the pandemic. And then there's the people who have been on forbearance for a year on their payments and maybe they're not able, or the system, I don't think anyone really knows 100% what is going to happen when the forbearance is over. So there's really these 4 major groups of people that are probably going to hit the market. Now, are they going to hit all in the same time? I heard in Travis County in 2009, they did a 3-month forbearance on foreclosures because there was these auto foreclosures happening, not like car foreclosures, but like automatic. And in the month following that, there was 1,500 foreclosures in 1 month in Travis County alone. I don't see that happening here. I don't know if it will or not. I mean, nobody knows for sure. I hear the banks are going to slow release these over time, but we do suspect that there'll be 2 to 3 years, full of foreclosures. So starting probably late this year.
Yeah, I think it'll be more of a dribble versus a full on turn that faucet on. I don't think anybody wants to do that. For the most part,
it doesn't help the banks. It doesn't help anybody. So.
Exactly. Nobody wants to be the bad guy after COVID, but I think what we're going to see more so than anything else is going to be the second home mortgages or those investor loans where people, the actual borrowers on the mortgages who have an investment property didn't have the reserves and haven't been receiving anything from the tenants in place for 3, 6, or
those
12.
Are the people that are hurting the worst. Is the people that have 1 to 6 properties, they're mom and pop landlords, and they weren't getting rent and they didn't have any good bailouts for them. So
with what you've been seeing each month, is that kind of falling into that classification with that type of loan that you've seen kind of dribble with a few foreclosures each month across it, or is there any type of trends or tracking that you've seen?
Yeah, there hasn't been many. I mean, in McLennan County, we doubled our number from last month, and there's 25 this month. There's 12 last month. So I mean, there hasn't been many, but the ones we're seeing a lot of the private loans, HOA loans, and mechanics liens and stuff going to sale. You see a loan that was taken out in 2020, now it's being foreclosed on. It's only a year later because they're just 1-year loans. I mean, these are, and some HUD loans. Usually, if the home is vacant, they're going as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense there. But the HUD, I mean, it's funny to see. I won't say it's funny to see, but yeah, vacant HUD loans, those don't fall in if it's occupied or somebody living into it. It's let's just go ahead and do business as normal. Mm-hmm. Those type of, the banks are on the hook for this for the most part. Are you seeing maybe an increase in some commercial loans going to foreclosure versus just residential stuff?
I haven't seen it yet. A lot of people are expecting it. People have got our list now for 6 months thinking it's going to happen, and it will happen. I mean, we do see some big buildings for sure, but not like this huge uptick in office and stuff like that because everyone's working from home and people have been paying their, their restaurant rents and things like that. So that is something we really expected to see by now, but we haven't seen a huge number in that yet, no.
Besides the state foreclosure list, you guys also offer up a couple different lists to go along with those. What are some of those lists that you guys also offer that you're seeing?
Yeah, so our other list, we have the results of the auction. So we send somebody to the auction to tell you what it opened for and what it eventually sold for, and if it went back to the bank or to a third-party investor. We have the opposite of that list, which is the unsold list. So about 75% in any county average don't actually go up for auction. They get pulled. So we sell a list of all the properties that were pulled. And a lot of times those are still possession of the homeowner, so they're good to market after. We also sell the sheriff's list, which is exactly the same foreclosure process, but these people are losing their home to taxes and judgments instead of the mortgage or HOA or liens. And then we also have the post-bankruptcy alert list. This is a great list for people who are going to be probably in foreclosure in 3 to 6 months. They're losing their bankruptcy protection. And so it's a good list to mail. There's no sale at the end of this one like there is with the other one. So you actually have to send a postcard or go knock on the door and start marketing yourself. Then we have some vacant homes declared vacant from the US Post Office and one called likely to sell. But yeah, and also, and thanks for asking, Scott. The other thing we had too, we just developed this in the last few years, is we wanted to be known as more than just a data company. So we have auction financing. We'll do the evictions for you if you need it done. We'll quote out the construction job. We'll bid for you at the auction if you need it done. We'll drive by the property and take pictures. I think it's $10 a property. We'll do the title search. So we are expanding into like all the different steps you need into foreclosures before and after the foreclosure. If you just need the locks changed after you win a property, we can do that as well. So thanks for that plug.
Wow, that is huge, man. That's so basically, if we get a list and we need photos taken or we need title pulled, we can either pay for the full list or we can we do a partial list or a one-off, even if people are doing that, looking for that, or no? You guys have a kind of a minimum order on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything's a la carte. So if you just need the list, you can just get the list. If you just need photos, you can just get photos. So yeah, I mean, there's no really the opposite. There's no big package of everything. It's all just like, hey, choose what you need. We'll help you out.
That is really, that's a new feature. That's really cool, man. Because that's a lot of people have avoided that, especially those that are working full time. They don't have the time to go out and do a lot of due diligence.
Yeah, this one guy, I was in Tarrant County at the auction. He was talking, I would say yelling. He was yelling at me. He's like, there's no, there was only 13 sales in Tarrant County last month. I mean, it was ridiculous. There was 90 properties on the list and only 13 went up. And he's telling me, hey, like, not enough trustees are going. This isn't worth my time. And luckily I was able to turn that for him and say, hey, I totally get it. I understand. And he looked like he was a successful businessman. I was like, if you make more money being at work and want us to bid for you on the steps, we'll do it for a fee. And he was like, oh, because he could make more money staying at work that day and just telling us what properties he wanted and for us to bid for him. So yeah, all these other services are great and they're right for the right person, especially the auction financing. I mean, in order to get hard money loans on anything, usually you need to have an inspection on the property at the very least, at least a drive-by inspection, and it needs to go through a title company. So we kind of found a way around that, and we can finance the deal for you at the auction.
Okay, that's interesting. We need to dive a little bit more into that because Texas, you got to have cash.
Yeah, we'll give you the cashier's checks, and you can show up with our cashier's checks. When you win the property, you're going to vest the title into our name and your name. When the title comes back in the mail, we'll take out the first lien deed of trust at that time, and then you'll be the sole owner of the property.
Wow, now that is freaking cool. Let's talk. Okay. What kind of points, cost, what kind of goes along with that there? Because that's really cool, man. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it's new. It's new. Well, we've had it for about a year, but it's new to the industry. So it's typical hard money, I would say. It's a little high. So 3 points on the origination and 13% interest. It's an 80-20 loan. So yeah.
So basically, somebody's coming with 20, still bringing 20% to you, and you're
as soon as it closes, or as soon as you win the property, you're going to throw 20% in a fund, because it's like, how do you know how much you're going to use? 100,000 or 500,000 or what? So
okay, so that's basically wired that same day for the most part.
I believe so. I'm not usually involved in that step, but yeah, the day or the day after.
But that's still, even that's a temporary lien. I mean, that's a pretty good thing, as you need fast financing to make that stuff happen. I mean, that's really cool coming to the board with 80% financing, because everybody has their kind of peaks of what they want to bid at their MAO. Hey, yeah. I know my MAO is going to be this. Let me put 20% with you, and then you'll finance the other 80 if it's winning. And obviously, if we don't win it, then it's just a refund back or rewire back for the most part. Well,
I don't think if you don't win it, I don't think anything goes in, because you don't wire your money until after the win. So
wow, so that's now, is that all throughout Texas or specific counties, or how's that work?
Yeah, well, to my understanding, it's all throughout Texas, but we are going to drive those properties, and we are going to run our own title on those properties before the auction, because that's now, And for one guy who has the money to buy at auction, he's using us for that service this month because he's new and he wants us to look over deals that he's going to do. And so if we have skin in the game, we're definitely going to look it over too.
Well, but that's the biggest thing. I mean, I've been to many foreclosure auctions across the country, and it's always interesting seeing new people at an event. I was at an event in PG County a couple of years ago, and this guy, it was a second lien that was foreclosing. And so most of the people weren't bidding, but this guy showed up in a suit. He bid 29 on this property, was worth 150, not knowing it was a second lien.
Yeah.
Okay. And he was like, oh my God, I can't believe the books, the tapes, this actually works. And I'm like, you know, that's a second lien, right? There's $130,000 first lien. He's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But that's smart because you guys are doing it. And that can add a lot of comfort level to somebody brand new because they're like, yeah, there's a second set of eyes, more experience. You know, a company's done thousands of deals to understand what makes sense. Wow, that's really cool, man. That is a cool thing. We're gonna have to spend some more time talking about that later on.
Yeah.
Where with you guys working with so many investors, is there anything that stands out besides kind of the things we talked about? Anything else that stands out that you see kind of creative with your list, or let's talk about creative and what you see the most common usage of your list for?
So we thought we might have an avatar, you know, one type of person that, you know, or majority that buys our list. And we found out through lots of calls to our members that we don't. Like, you know, there's a good majority of them, or there's a good amount of them that only buy at auction. There's some that only buy before. There's some that try both. But then there's also institutions that use our list too. Like there's a lot of title companies that have access to our list to watch their properties that are in escrow. There's a lot of banks that, you know, are watching some of their loans on properties. There's a lot of attorneys that are using our list to help people declare bankruptcy. And so there's realtors looking for listings. So there's not specifically one type of person. I think that the hidden secret with the list, and I've never done this and I don't fully understand how to do this, but the people I've talked to, they seem like they're doing really well, is a strategy called chasing overages. And so it's basically you get the struck off list, or what we call the results list, on our website. You find out exactly, you know, if it went to a third party, how much more over the estimated balance and or the opening bid. And that money is owed back to the homeowner, but I guess it's hard for the homeowner to collect on that. And so they connect the two, and the people, and they must take a large fee, because the people that call me that are using it for that purpose, they seem to be doing well. And I can't give them advice on it because I've never done it, but there are some YouTube videos I noticed about tutorials on how to do that. So
yeah, what happens a lot of times, we see this, we've collected quite a bit in overages where it goes to a tax, especially sheriff's over there, a tax still takes place, maybe only $5,000 is owed on the back taxes, and say it gets bid up to 50. Well, that first $5,000 goes back to the county, and there's that $45,000 sitting at the county to the next lien holder on the property, whether it's a first or second holder. And so we've been able to use those struck off lists in some cases to find overages that we were owed, or bought notes on from the banks and lien institutions who didn't know there was an overage by saying, hey, this went to foreclosure, and they sell it to us for pennies on the dollar, and they just didn't even do this research knowing that there's $50,000 or $60,000 or $10,000 sitting out there for them to claim. So it's kind of a cool thing. Now, are you guys using the tax sales stuff and financing tax sales too for people, or just on the traditional foreclosure side?
Nope. Tax sales, we just provide the list. We actually don't do the struck off list for the tax sale at this time, and we also don't finance those. Taxes, you know, a lot of your listeners probably don't. They do have a right of redemption in Texas. Other states, I'm sure that even the trustee list probably has a right of redemption. So that makes it, I think, a little too risky for our lending arm to mess.
Well, that's the thing is, yeah, I mean, some people are using it, making sure it's right, but yeah, there is, you know, you've got redemption periods, and you've got, you know, flat rates, stuff like that. Plus there's often liens behind the property or the taxes as well too that don't clear up. Whereas in the foreclosure list, hey, you're in the first lien position, you're in the driver's seat for the most part, besides the taxes owed, which is pretty easy.
Yeah, we do offer to bid for people at the tax sale, so we'll do that. But yeah, we won't put our money up, and we won't stand there and watch the whole sale and take notes on what sold and for how much, which is what we have to do.
Now, with the different counties, are there counties out there that you are like, I really want to spend a little bit more time researching that county or seeing the market? I know that USA Today came out with an article before COVID that, like, Hayes County down in San Marcos was one of the fastest growing counties in the country. We all know that Comal County is doing well in New Braunfels too.
Yeah.
You guys there in Waco are just booming like crazy as well too.
Right.
What are
Right.
some of those maybe unheard of counties that you guys are seeing some activity in?
I get that question every day, and unfortunately, there's none anymore. We used to direct people to Denton. Now Denton is pretty flooded. We, of course, talked about Bell in the past. Now Bell is going for pretty close to everything is super competitive. Hayes County, awesome county, 2 foreclosures last month. So, and I think 2 the month before that. So no, there's no hidden gem out there right now, in my opinion. I believe Harris County is going to start their foreclosures again, if not this month, if not soon. There's probably 600 or 700 properties on the list. They haven't had an auction since March of 2020. That may be a place that you can do something. I hear it's crazy over there. I've never been, but there's really no like, oh man, if there used to be some sort of quiet counties, but there will be again. But right now.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Bell County basically is where Temple is on I-35. It's just south of. Is this Temple in Bell County, or is that a different county?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Temple, Killeen, Fort Hood area.
That's right. Exactly. So you'll see occasionally some stuff there. But you talked about Hayes County is south. That's where San Marcos, Texas State University, one of the biggest universities in the state of Texas, where my alma mater, go Bobcats.
Oh, I saw a sticker with that Bobcat today, and on a car in Waco.
Don't see them very often. Predominantly, usually a party school, but up and down I-35, I think was where a lot of people look at it. But Harris County, that's Houston. It's been hit. It's the largest county in the state. It's been hit. Obviously, you had the flooding. You've had hurricanes. People were delayed from that foreclosure. And then you had COVID kicking in. Yeah, 600 foreclosures set for April. The first Tuesday in April will be interesting to see how many actually make it to that or get pushed back or kicked off the list. Huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I may have to follow back up with you to see that number if you just know the numbers on it for the most part.
Yeah, we don't attend the Harris County auction, but and that's really the only way to know what actually sold is to have someone there. But you would need like 8 to 12 people there to to really properly monitor all the sales, because in Harris County they can they don't wait their turn. Like they have 6 probably trustees going at a time. So
you just got to have a crier to get on the courthouse steps and start talking and trying to people listen to it. Yeah, it's if you've never been to a county foreclosure here in Texas, it is an interesting thing. If there is a big list, they don't want to wait till 4 p.m. They want to be done by 11.
It is so crazy. Yeah, I'm glad that you've been, and I think everybody should go at least once. First Tuesday at your local courthouse. There's millions of dollars in everyone's pockets, just in cashier's checks and cash. And everyone's just standing around waiting for people to show up. No idea when they're going to come. And it's wild.
It's a great place, as I've always said, to go and meet with private investors and raise some capital if you can, because there's like you said, in Texas we've got to have cashier's checks, and like they have hundreds of thousands, not millions of dollars in denominations and cashier's checks, because they've got to present that almost immediately to the sheriff.
You got to go. If you're an investor, you got to go, even if you're not interested in foreclosure, just to meet people. Like that's how I got my first job in Texas. I was door knocking all the foreclosures. I didn't know really what I was going to do with it. I go to the auction. I've got all these notes, and the guy who I ended up working with for a long time, my mentor and friend Travis, he just noticed that I was there, and we just got to talking, and it's almost like a little hangout spot too. So
well, and that's the beautiful thing is that, the Lone Star State's really active. I think Dallas is picked to be one of the top markets with distressed stuff or to invest with. It's been a hot market for years. Yeah. Austin, very hot here, but we don't see it much in distressed debt because I think everything's overpriced and the demand is so low.
Right.
Harris, Dallas started seeing an uptick in short sales a little bit prior to COVID. So it's just interesting to see what's going on here all across. And it's amazing that you guys have such a big staff and are covering so much of the state that first Tuesday and everything like that. There's such a wealth of resources there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff, man. What is the best way for people to reach out, to go? What's the best website for people to go to, take a look at the list your offers, to pick up a list? How's that kind of work, Jack?
So our website is the number 4, the word closure.info. We've got some webinars on YouTube as well that we're teaching people. There are a lot of free webinars there. If you go on our website, you can join for free. If you join for free, you get 20% of any county's list, never have to put in a credit card, and it never expires. That's new. So say, say it's Hayes County, you might not see a single thing this month, but say it's Harris County, you might get to look at, 170 to 200 properties, just all the information, all the details on them, just to kind of see if it's for you. We have a chat.
I'm sorry, what do they have to join to get that list again?
4Closure.info, click the join for free button, and we won't harass you. You can stay on. You'll get the emails from us, just teaching you about foreclosures, and eventually one day maybe you'll come on and be a full member.
But it's a valuable thing, and it's a list that I've used for years. And as people are always looking into it, when we were exchanging emails back and forth, as things were coming to an end with the government quitting to kick the can down, this is a really valuable thing. And Texas has always got a hot market with everything going on here for us. And there's been some counties have done well, and some counties have not done well. Like you said, some big numbers in others, and nothing in others as well too for you. So if you're investing in Texas or looking to invest in Texas, 4Closure.info would be a great place for you guys to start looking at what's taking place in the markets, the counties, the cities that you're interested in, and pretty inexpensive to pick up a list. And as you've heard here, guys, they do a lot more besides just data. They can help you with the bidding. They can help you even with some of the financing, the struck off list, the BK list, just a wealth of information. And that's why we wanted to have Jack on here today to talk about their services. So Jack, thank you so much for coming on the Note Closure Show podcast. Looking forward to connecting with you some more here in the near future. And any other ways for people to connect with you besides the website?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook page as well. You're welcome to follow us on Facebook, which is where we'll post things that you might need to know, like about certain counties being closed, or if their auction location moves. That's kind of where we put our bulletins out. So
cool. Same thing, Foreclosure.info or Foreclosure Facebook.
I find it by Google searching Foreclosure Listing Service Facebook. Put those 4 words in there. Same with the YouTube, Foreclosure Listing Service YouTube. We're the first ones that pop up on each of those searches in Google.
Awesome. Well, Jack, thanks so much for being a guest on the podcast today, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, guys, take the opportunity. Go check out the website. You can actually download a sample list so you can kind of see what's all in it for you via PDF, and then also Excel for you guys. Such a great tool. Like I said, I've been using their lists for years when we've been targeting the auctions, as we start seeing a spike in like Bexar County, Travis County, Dallas, Tarrant, and even Harris counties out there, guys, in the past. So valuable info, whether you're chasing foreclosures, REOs, non-performing notes, looking for funding, or looking to get your foot in the door for other deals. That's a great place to get started, and very valuable and very, very affordable for you. So go out, take some action, everybody, and we'll see you all at the top, everybody. Bye.